So my wife is 48 years old and she's retiring. The problem is that a significant amount of her retirement savings is inside her employer 401k. She's too young for the rule of 55. We have no access to her money, right? Wrong. At the end of the video, I'm going to give you how we structured her retirement so we did have access. So how do you retire at 48 when the money you've spent your career saving is supposedly locked up until 59 and a half? That's the exact problem we're going to solve right now. There's something unusual about her account that's going to give us the money we need to bridge the gap from her 48 years old to 59 and a half. So she's retiring completely. I'm 9 years older, and I'm going to continue to be working. What we don't want to do is take on any additional taxable income. But she has significant money in her employer retirement account. That rule of 55, like I said, that doesn't work for her. She's leaving at 48. She's got 11 and a half years to wait to get to her money. So that's our problem. We could simply start pulling out money from her retirement to bridge this gap of her missing income. But that's taxable and it's subject to penalties. We don't want to create that problem. We could look at something like a 72T strategy, but that's a different story. That potentially has issues as well. What we're going to find out, though, and stick with me to the end, I'm going to show you how we're able to bridge that gap with what we found out is in her 401k. We looked even at doing Roth conversion. You could do a Roth conversion on some of that, but it's still taxable. And it's just not something that we want to do. So where does the money come from? How do we get to this money? There's something unusual about her specific retirement account. When you look at the balance on the retirement statement, it looks like one big pile of money, right? But when you dig a little deeper, in her case specifically, it may not be this way in your case, but when you look specifically, there are 3 buckets of money sitting there. One is her pre-tax money. No tax has ever been paid on this. The second bucket is earnings associated with her after-tax contributions. And bucket number 3 is her actual dollars she put into that 401k after tax. That's the money she put in after she already paid tax on it, and it's in that 401k. And bucket number 3 changes our entire plan. So when we roll this retirement account over, how it works is we don't have to treat all of this money the same way. It needs to be done at one time, but we don't have to treat it the same way. The pre-tax retirement money that has never had any tax paid on it, goes into a traditional IRA. We roll it out of her 401k. That money goes into a traditional IRA. The earnings associated with those after-tax dollars that she contributed, that money can go in a couple of places. It can go into a traditional IRA. It can go into a Roth, taxable. We don't want to create that problem. Now, hear me on this. Some of you could potentially do a smaller Roth conversion. If you're retiring at 48, you have a significant amount of money, and you realize, how am I going to make it to 59 and a half? Because remember, that 55 rule is you have to retire after you're 55, leave your employment. So when people say, I want to retire early, well, how early? 55? No, she wanted to retire at 48, and she was diligent. So now we can. Those earnings that I was just talking about after tax goes to the traditional IRA. Could go to a Roth. That's not our case. It may be your case where you pay tax on that money, put it in a Roth. At least you have some money to bridge your gap then. Now, there's going to be a taxable event, but your pre-tax money is all in a 401k. Your earnings on your after-tax contributions, if you have them, are either in a Roth or a traditional IRA, either one. We're going to keep that tax-deferred growth all tax-deferred in a traditional IRA. But that bucket number 3, those are her original contribution amount. That we're taking out completely tax-free, putting it in a joint account. And that's the money that we're going to use to bridge that gap. So when her money comes out, earnings, tax-free money, pre-tax money, all goes into a traditional IRA. Her contributions, even though they're just her contributions, they're a significant amount of money. That goes into our joint brokerage account, and boom, we now have the money to bridge that gap. That's it. That's the secret that makes this plan work. So the question, do you have enough money to retire, is not really, do you have enough money to retire? It's, when are you going to retire? Do you have enough money to retire at 48, or do you have to wait 7 years? Can you actually get to that money? And yes, if you have after-tax contributions, and I hope you all do, if you're a young person out there, consider this. If you're really diligent, you do the right things, you save amount of money, you put it into a 401k because you think you're doing the right thing, and you all of a sudden realize at 48 years old, hey, I've got enough money to retire. Good luck getting to it. That's the problem. So this becomes the bridge that allows us to retire, her to retire at 48 instead of 59 and a half. It's not always about how much you have saved. It's about what kind of money you have saved and where is it and how can you get to it. So I appreciate you guys watching. Join my school community, please. The link will be in the description, as it always is. I appreciate it. See you next time.